Hello, and welcome to another episode of Focus on Outcomes, where we talk to leaders in organizations and focus on what they're doing to help the communities that we live and work, and how technology impacts that mission. We're super excited to have a great guest from the Columbus, Ohio area. So before we get started, Candace, good to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good, thanks. So we're happy to be joined by Sean Moore, Community Relations Manager for Open Door in Columbus, Ohio. Sean, how are you today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Before we get started, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your role at Open Door, how long have you been there, and what the mission is of Open Door.
Open Door Columbus was established in 1979, so we have been around for quite some time, and our organization was a direct response to the deinstitutionalization of the United States. So institutionalized spaces for persons with disabilities and also kind of those suffering with mental health disorders were shut down. There needed to be residential placements for those that once occupied the institutionalized spaces. So intermediate care facilities were kind of that first foray into residential spaces that were integrated into the community. So our first entity was an intermediate care facility, Park West Court Apartments. That was in 79. From there, we sort of just branched out from the ICF, Intermediate Care Facility. We started an art-based program that led to a studio space and a gallery space for artists with disabilities. We have a theater program for actors with disabilities. Step 2 of kind of residential services would have been fully integrated independent homes in the community. So we have those all over multi-counties with kind of central Columbus, central Ohio being the kind of base of it all. Technology has kind of come into play now as step 3 of residential services, with the goal always being to promote kind of independence and choice amongst those that we support. So our mission is kind of simplistic, I guess, in writing, but hopefully not simplistic in terms of delivery. It's inspiring life journeys. So it's 3 simple words. And it's really the idea that we are here to support persons with disabilities on their life journey. We are here to assist them in dictating what that life journey is and to really just be here as a support system to make sure that that journey is possible. And we do that in many different facets, residentially, programmatically, creatively, through creativity. There we go.
That's perfect.
As well as kind of opportunities through kind of employment, all of that, really kind of structuring a full life for every person that we support.
Okay, so right now you're the Community Relations Manager. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to that role and what drew you to this type of work?
My mother was the first social worker for our organization. So 501c3 nonprofit status was in 79, but the doors officially opened, no pun intended, in 1984. So my mom actually went to a neighboring institutionalized space, and she hand-selected the original residents to come to our ICF. So I grew up in this industry, and she kind of bounced around as social worker in different facets, kind of always within human services, obviously. But my true passion was the arts. So by degree, I am a fine artist. I was a photographer, and kind of post-college realized that the percentage of fine artists that actually make it is very slim. So it is beneficial to have a 9-to-5 while you are pursuing your art-related endeavors. So I actually applied for a position at our art studio space and gallery space for artists with disabilities. So at the time, we represented over 100 artists. We still do. There was kind of a lesser amount kind of supported during COVID-19 and shut down, but we're kind of right back up to those large scale numbers with in-house exhibitions, usually about 7 to 9 per year. And then usually about 35 to 40 different exhibitions at varying venues throughout Franklin County in Columbus, Ohio every year as well. So I applied for a position there. I ended up being the director of that space for 10 years before moving over to our corporate entity for kind of marketing, grant writing, all of those kind of behind the scenes, although still creatively driven functions here.
Oh, I love that.
It was kind of a nice melding of 2 worlds, the world of kind of disability services and human services, as well as kind of fine arts. So
Gordon Flesch and Alevity have had relationships with Open Door, and Columbus Center for Human Services, I think, was a prior name
Yep.
or a division
Yeah.
of for a long time. But we saw on your website as we were preparing that one of your strategic goals for 2025 was really how to utilize technology to enhance capacity for community reach, individual outcomes, operations. So as we're kind of halfway through 2025, tell us about the ways that you've worked towards this goal over the last 9 months or so, and kind of what does that look like moving forward?
I mean, technology is obviously going to be the forefront of growth for kind of every major industry. And human services, while I say we are potentially the slowest moving industry on the face of the planet, we are no exception. Technology is going to be the forefront of what the future looks like for supporting persons with disabilities. I think we really kind of started to see that during shutdown, during COVID-19. Obviously, there was a staffing crisis across the board, for an industry that is 24/7, an industry that supports other humans. You don't really have the luxury of having a staffing shortage. So we were really kind of, we were met with a really large scale challenge. How do we continue to support persons with disabilities who need that daily support when we ourselves maybe are based at home? So technology very much gave us an opportunity to honor kind of independence, to provide services and to provide support without necessarily being on site in person. Obviously, that wasn't going to be 100% of the time. There are certain people we support that really do need that assist kind of right next to them in their living environments. But for the studio space, for the art-based programming, we were able to offer artistic supports virtually because our studio was shut down until we were able to reopen. For our residential services, this was kind of the start of remote support services, which we launched in 2025. So the idea that as we're kind of considering independence and a capability to lead an independent life, what if we didn't have to have a staff member scheduled with someone for 24 hours a day? What if that person was able to lead a completely independent life, except for maybe just a little extra support at noon when they take a certain medication? What if we were able to just kind of log in via Zoom, via Teams to their home environment, assist them through the process of taking that medication? Everything was good to go. We log off and the rest of the day is theirs. So it's really kind of been a learning and growing moment for not just Open Door, but the entire world of disability services. How can we use technology to promote independence? How can we use technology to offer more experiences, to offer more choice? Obviously, we want to integrate as much as we can, but what about for those moments of integration where we're not able to go out, at the time we don't have a vehicle available? What if we're able to view art via, Zoom? What if we're able to have programs that are facilitated solely based on technology rather than those in-house experiences? With that has kind of come new opportunities to partner with other providers to kind of act as pilot spaces for technological services that would kind of streamline the need to document a day-to-day, minute-by-minute account of what is happening by hand. What if we were able to kind of document via an online platform that then could be fed to the county or the state so they could see in real time what a day looks like in a home that, is receiving Medicaid services? We've also kind of branched out into kind of fully immersive technological spaces to honor sensory needs and also kind of honor sensory defensiveness. So our kind of programming for the future is really these sort of fully immersed spaces that are reliant on light and sound and moving image. And with kind of the roll of a dice, someone can kind of change the entire landscape around them based on their own sensory needs. They can produce sound if that's something that they need to kind of assist in focus. They can find moments of quiet. It's really exciting kind of what the future holds. We've seen great progress using technology in just the day-to-day relationships between a staff and a client. What if someone, English is their second language, but they want to offer kind of quality programming, quality support? They can use translating devices or different apps on an iPad to better communicate with the person they're supporting. They can offer choices that maybe they never thought of. Someone is having a rough day, but we know that these certain things may help them have a better day. We can use, an iPad to drum up different selections of music or television shows or, experiences that might put them at ease. So I'm pumped, obviously. I'm also Italian, so I will never stop talking until you tell me to be quiet. So,
This is
feel free
great.
to
No,
cut me
that's
off
perfect for a
anytime.
podcast.
Well, and I would assume that if a lot of those examples that you provided, services can still be provided to the end user, but you can do it at a less expensive cost, which allows you to further the dollars and the budget, which provides more services or can help more people outside of the initial investment. I know that some of the technology has helped you to be able to deliver not only good quality services to allow people to be more dependent, but you can also do that over time, hopefully at a lesser cost, which again extends a budget, extends the challenges that every nonprofit deals with, which is dollars and people and the things that you want to accomplish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is all dollars and people. So, yeah, I mean, the reality is you can kind of reallocate staffing hours to different spaces where the need is greater if you are able to kind of utilize technology in a capacity that still provides quality services, still provides the needed supervision, but just, you're never going to find a staff member who will work one singular hour. It's just not a reality. Right. But then you compromise the potential independence of the client. And you also are then costing Medicaid X amount of dollars for a staff member that really only needed to be there for 20 minutes potentially. Right. And it's the perfect scenario for the perfect person. This isn't across the board, obviously. I think we found that when we do a cookie cutter model, when working with humans, that doesn't work. But for the right person, these sort of technological advancements are so amazingly great at really offering them a higher quality of life.
One of the things, too, that we want to touch on is this really amazing project that we know is in the works right now, where you are working to build an inclusive, accessible sensory park on the west side of Columbus. So tell us about the inspiration behind that project and what the park is going to mean to the community.
Yeah, so everything we do comes from those we support. So there was a call out from those we support, specifically those within our advocacy committee, for improved spaces that are outdoors, that are kind of free and open to the community, where they can meet new people, they can participate in recreational activities, they can just enjoy outside. And just in all honesty, kind of from when I started in this industry to now, to 12 years later, the demographic of the person that we support is very, very different. When I started, we were very much supporting kind of, I would say, a division of people that were once institutionalized. They were in kind of their mid to upper 60s. And our demographic is much younger. They don't want to necessarily kind of sit in one space and work with a staff member on a particular activity. They want to go outside and they want to hang out with their friends and they want to invite their friends over. So the call out was there for some kind of improved outdoor space. So when I first came over to the corporate office, this outdoor space consisted, I think, of maybe 2 pieces of equipment, and it was within the boundaries of our intermediate care facility. I think within a month, I turned around and it was outside of that space. It was upwards of 11 different pieces of sensory equipment. And they were like, "Hey, good luck, fund it." And I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, okay, cool. I guess we've grown from our initial idea." But it's a great problem to have. So we've now kind of formulated this space with, pathways connecting the different pieces of sensory equipment, all kind of structured for adults. It will be adjacent to an all-inclusive sports park, which will be second in the nation. It's a largely kind of European structure that I think has made its way in one location in Michigan. So we would technically be the second location. And that space represents, I think, 7 different sports, all accessible in nature. So like the basketball hoop can adjust in height based on need. There's a track around it. And there's going to be a Shakespearean garden with an outdoor performance space. It is going to be completely open to the community as well as to those we support. So, and the west side of Columbus, it took a hit It really did. Before COVID-19 and post COVID-19, they lost Westland Mall. They lost many kind of factory-based industry that was based in kind of this sector of Columbus. We got the casino, but in terms of kind of areas where West Columbus communities can kind of gather, safe spaces for all, where they can meet one another, socialize, where they can, have fun outdoors. We're very excited about what this means, not only for those we support, but just for the community at large, for everyone that surrounds us and for Columbus as a whole.
Yeah. So as people are thinking of this space, what are some of the features of the or elements of the park that make it inclusive?
So a lot of the equipment is going to honor sensory needs and then also honor sensory defensiveness. So it's a space where, like I tell this story all the time. I grew up in Clintonville, so kind of North Columbus. The Park of Roses was sort of our epicenter it had the playground there, it had gathering spaces, it had classes, it had the library. And I remember being on the playground, and there was one kind of resident that frequented the Park of Roses, and she was an adult, and she clearly needed to have some kind of sensory stimulation, and she would often utilize the equipment on the playground. As an adult, kind of utilizing this child-friendly space, there seemed to be a lot of kind of negative reaction to that. And I think one of the things I think about her every single time we're kind of conceptualizing what our space is going to be, and the idea that this is going to be a space that is available to young adults, but really kind of catered to or older adults that sort of need that additional sensory stimulation, that need that safe space where they can kind of unquestioned kind of interact with the equipment that is there. If she is still around in Columbus, I hope that she's able to venture to this space, to have a safe space where she feels comfortable, where she is not looked at with a kind of a second glance. That's kind of when I think about this structure and this space, who I think of. Ultimately, the equipment pieces themselves, they're able to be utilized by younger adults, but really structured for adults. They each kind of cater to a different sensory stimulation or a sensory defensiveness. So there are pieces of equipment that kind of honor like noise making or sound. There is an accessible super scoop, kind of, so the act of kind of digging with kind of gravel around it. There are going to be swings that sort of cup the body so that, you feel kind of that sense of safety. There are other sort of swings that simulate the kind of motion of going back and forth, even for those who may kind of utilize a wheelchair. So they maybe never have been able to experience that sensation of swinging back and forth with the wind kind of blowing. So there's so many different pieces of equipment that are going to kind of either allow for or mimic the sensations that, you and I experienced on a playground just because we were capable of experiencing that. So I think it's going to be very revolutionary for Columbus. I don't know of a space that really has every single piece that we are acquiring and that we are putting in addition to kind of the accessible sports, in addition to the outdoor theater, in addition to just a meeting space with kind of, even having accessible, park benches that, anyone can utilize. I think it's going to be super duper cool.
All of it is just, it's just really cool. And I'm sure it's going to be extremely impactful to those that are in the area and have the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are next steps in terms of the development of the park? When is it expected to open? Kind of tell us where you're at.
As we are speaking, we should be having fencing going up. I have not gone outside yet, so I'm going to knock on wood and say that fencing is going up. So fencing was step one. Obviously, first kind of land preparation, then fencing. You need a secure location for all of the equipment that is needed to install the equipment that we have purchased. So we are anticipating a soft launch at the end of summer, with the kind of grand opening probably being next spring. So it'll be available for use, but spring is going to be the official. We had time to landscape, all of that.
How can local businesses or individuals get involved in supporting or sponsoring parts or components of the park, or all of the park if somebody would like to?
Well, we would love any support.
Yeah.
So we have a full sponsorship package available on our website. So if you go to www.opendoorcolumbus.com/donate, that will lead you to a landing page that is dedicated specifically to the sensory and sports park. So the equipment pieces that are still available for sponsorship are all listed there. And you can receive full naming rights to the piece of equipment that you have sponsored, but all of that is available there. You can also just donate without sponsorship at that same landing page.
Great. We'll make sure to include that when we publish this.
We can definitely do that. And then I think now, though, we're going to switch a little bit here into unfocused outcomes. So this is rapid fire questions. Just say what comes top of mind.
Okay.
Jeff,
All right.
should I make you ask?
Yeah, I'll go through this.
Okay.
So what is your go-to order at a local Columbus spot?
We're really lucky in Columbus. There are so many great spaces. So I used to live on the south side of Columbus, and Pistacia Vera was probably my favorite, like patisserie. They have a tomato galette that I love. So it has like olives on it too. So there's like a equal part like doughy, but also like that acidy, soury kind of moment. So.
The Italian in you is coming out again as you say that.
Yeah,
Love
right.
it.
Just the way you pronounced all those words. What is your favorite way to spend a Saturday morning?
I actually really love the Worthington Farmers Market. I really do. I like to grab a coffee and
Yeah, get some small little good bites. Good.
yeah, right.
If you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be?
I'm a huge Real Housewives fan. And
You have no idea how happy this is making me.
okay,
Continue.
so Real Housewives of New York City, they relaunched it. It was not incredibly successful. There was a housewife, though. Her name is Raquel, and she essentially assisted people in procuring fine art. So she would like research artists. I think artists of color was kind of her sweet spot. But then she would assist clients in procuring artwork and building their own personal art collections. I would love to do that.
What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I don't know if I'm super adventurous. I guess maybe talking about Real Housewives on this podcast is kind of adventurous. It's a specific
Everyone's
type
gonna
of
know.
person, probably, that will admit to that.
Yeah, well, I might, if we continue that, I might jump out of a plane, which would be a more adventurous. Okay, so if you could time travel, what year would you visit first?
I feel like mid 70s, let's say 74. I don't know. I want to say the 60s, just because that is very true to like young me. But I feel like the 70s was better music, so I would say 70s.
Okay.
Okay, Jeff, this is the one I was interested in what you would say too.
Well, I have a follow-up question first.
Oh, okay.
So if you could time travel, would you prefer to go back in time or into the future?
Oh, back.
See, when I put that question in here, the millennial in me was like the year 3000 because of the Jonas Brothers. Like, you have to know if what they wrote in the song actually happens.
If it comes true.
It was like, yeah. It was just, I was
I'm
like,
going to go
duh,
with
of course.
the under. I doubt it did. I doubt it will. But
You don't think we'd live underwater?
I don't know if the Jonas Brothers are that influential, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I won't find out. Somebody will. I will not. So you turn that question back on to me. I think I'd like to go to the 50s. I don't know. There's something about the 50s that I think maybe that's just like relative time. You want to go back to the 70s. I want to go back to the 50s. Maybe that's relative. Relatively similar.
I can see that.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for that. That's always a fun part of this.
It is. Sean, before we wrap things up, how can listeners get involved and support Open Doors mission?
So everything is through our website. We love volunteers. We love the community to become involved in any capacity. Donations also on our website. And if you are someone who is in need of services, all of that's on the website as well. So if you're a volunteer, you will talk to me again. That's also my role. Same with donations. But if you are someone who's looking for services, we have a great, great, great team here.
Well, thank you for joining us, then. Thanks for sharing the mission and the exciting things going on over at Open Door. I can't wait to have an opportunity to see the park once it's all fully completed and landscaped and open to the public. We're honored to support Open Door in the mission and the technology that we support. So thanks again for joining us. Best of luck, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you next time.